You're listening to The White Rock Reporter, brought to you by Oli's Restaurant, White Rock Wellness Center, and DiscoverySeaTours.ca. And now, The White Rock Reporter, Johan Sandstrom.
Welcome to the show. I am the whiterockreporter.com, and it's a pleasure to be here and do this conversation and be meeting with the gentleman that I had the pleasure of meeting very briefly for 2 weeks ago. And I'm speaking about, in this case, Cory Saran of, in this case, Forge Properties in White Rock, British Columbia. It's great, and let me just give you a little welcome later on here. I'd like to read this for the viewer to understand that what we are going to do in this conversation with Mr. Cory is simply, we are talking about something that the construction has begun, and proudly I can read the information that the seamlessly positioned is this particular Royce, R-O-Y-C-E, and that is to elevate your point of view. Royce is a home that is inspired by elegance and design to complement your lifestyle. And you will feel like you are on a holiday every day with unobstructed views of the Pacific Ocean, the Semiahmoo Bay in White Rock in the Pacific Ocean, spacious patches designed for entertaining. And now may be the time for you to consider and listening to what Cory likes to, in this case, tell us about White Rock in particular. Why would one invest and why would one want to live in this, one of the very few properties that are still available in this pristine summer resort I take the liberty of calling White Rock. White Rock is a city. It has a mayor, has all the amenities that you may ask for. And I say, welcome to Cory Saran. Welcome to the show, and that was just a little introduction so that we know what we are going to talk about.
Sure. Thank you very much, Johan, for having me.
It's very simple. This is a conversation that I am given the privilege to have with you, and just to edify you, and obviously talk a little about yourself before we start to have a conversation here that gives the listener, I almost said viewer, but I meant the listener, a good idea of what is it we are really talking about. You have an interesting background. You're a very young man. You are part of a company, Forge Properties. Your father, Jack, and the rest of the family, and of course your wife, I take the liberty of calling Sandy Saran, your wife, that works in the company as well, and is heavily involved, and is she the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, or is she an accountant? By profession, she is, yeah.
By profession, she's an accountant. I think, though, because I guess we're a pretty lean company in terms of staff, so I think all three of us sort of take on different areas of the projects.
If I interpret this right, Cory, your wife is a homemaker. She is a mother of a 5-year-old girl.
Yes, and a two-year-old boy as well.
And you have a boy?
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old son.
2 year?
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds very family to me. It sounds very cozy. It sounds fantastic. Do you have any animals, pets?
Sure, we have a dog. He's a big bull mastiff named Oba.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I think that... How old were you? How old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
You are 26 years old, and you have gone in the hard school of the school of Knox and everything else. You started as a blue-collar person and worker in your dad's company, right?
Yes. I guess kind of taking it back, my father, he came to Canada in the early 70s when he was about 14 years old.
Oh, really?
And he lived in Mission and worked as a lumber grader. And he also worked in Squamish as well. And over the years, he had no real interest in going to school out here. He actually had dreams at that time to get into police enforcement because he worked in the police in India.
So in essence, he is a hands-on man.
He's a hands-on man.
And he definitely has been steering the course very well so.
Exactly, yes.
And he has not only done Keystone, which is another project of yours that was not as big, for 40 units or something like that?
Yeah, Keystone is a 42-unit townhouse project.
Is that in Surrey? Or?
That's in South Surrey on 29th and King George Highway. It wasn't until the early 2000s when Forge sort of came to be known in the multifamily sector. Primarily, we worked in the single-family sector. My father is especially in the late 70s when he first started working in single-family construction out in Mission and Abbotsford area. He was working primarily single-family construction and maybe small commercial at that time. And then over the course of the years, the business grew slowly, and over a period of time, by the 90s, my father and my mother and my older sisters and myself, we all moved out into Surrey. And my father was a owner-operator of a gas station convenience store, and that was sort of the beginning of my life. Was I actually lived inside a gas station.
So what country did he come from?
He came from India originally.
Oh.
And from Punjab in India, and it's an interesting story where he came from. He came from very, very kind of humble beginnings, and he was one of those famous stories of people with $5 in their pocket, and that's all they have coming to Canada. And it was kind of almost a rags to riches type story for my father, the amount that he's accomplished in his life. And like I was saying,
that's amazing, because he's obviously not alone with a story like that.
No,
but it is nice to have for us here now, for the listener to understand that that's the journey in life that is so important, which is almost the most important portion. It's not the destination primarily, but it is the journey that makes the man and the family and the children and everything else. No, he has obviously had a good sense and balance here in providing alliances, I say, with for instance, Fifth Avenue for marketing and innovation,
sure, yes.
and other engineers and other providers of services that you need when you are building projects. And let's just mention Royce. It is 82, 87 units, I believe.
Yeah, it's
homes.
It's an 87-unit condo building, five stories high, wood frame construction, and it's a unique building, especially because for this particular building, there's no homes that are facing north. Everybody is facing south, and the building is designed specifically to take advantage of the view proximities facing south. So every home is facing south, southeast, or southwest.
It is a question, correct me, and pardon me for asking you this, but isn't it a little of luck in this game of developing things? You got to be having the contacts. You need to be luckily getting in touch with the right people and associate with those. And I'm alluding to what you mentioned to me a few days ago, how this property came about. And I was speaking about Royce.
Yes.
And I said, I heard Royce. Royce, that's a unique name. I think of Rolls-Royce. And the salesperson at your demo home up here on Royce on Thrift Avenue and Everall and so on by Oxford and everything else in West White Rock. She said, "Yeah, Rolls-Royce. Yeah, that's the level of our product. We'd like to see it that way, so that's okay."
Sure, yes.
And so on. So when you go on here and we continue talking about the project as such, I like to talk about what you have mentioned about the project itself, Royce. You have these units. There are going to be homes, not necessarily for investors to invest in, to sublet and so on. It will be the cohesive family grouping, if I can put it that way.
Yes, I think for Forge especially, it's one of our core values is even a mandate is to build communities for people, not just building a box with a whole bunch of units. I think the era of building, spec homes, cookie cutter homes has kind of passed now, and we're in a new era of purchasers who are looking to buy a home that they're going to be staying in for in Royce's case
30 years,
20,
40 years, you never know.
Yes, exactly. So
because that is the sustainable. That's a realistic lifespan of a home like this without any major repair or maintenance, of course, on a regular basis. But otherwise, it's a home they buy.
Yes, definitely.
And you can't get a home here in Royce for less than $350,000.
No,
that's the lowest, I think.
I believe the starting price is $332.
$332.
Yes, and that's for our one bedroom and den, approximately 720 square feet. And then we have homes that range from $332 all the way to I think $1.4 million for one of our penthouses. That's about 1,500 square feet with about an 800 square foot deck. So it's a pretty big spread in terms of accessibility to the building. It's got a lot of entry level homes as well as the higher end homes as well.
For anyone that would like to see, there is a Thrift in Everall on Thrift. You will find there is between noon and 5 p.m. daily. There is except for Fridays, I believe, and otherwise the phone number there is 604-538-8028. Now, RoyceLiving.com, ROYCE living.com. That is a good way to find a lot on the internet.
Sure. Yes.
But I was going to ask you a thing. Let's go back here to you, Cory Saran. You started, and that was very impressive to hear. You went through that practical experience and worked anything from concrete to woodwork and all those details. As a blue-collar worker, if I can use that term, it's a good term because it tells you have done all this practical work on site, and you have done it under the leadership that was available through your father and with your father. But then you took a step off the train, so to speak, and went to school.
Yes.
And that's interesting. Tell me a little about that. How was that, the transition here?
So just to go back, when our family had moved to Surrey in the late 80s, early 90s, my father had purchased a gas station, and so our whole family lived inside the gas station on the top floor of the gas station. So it was myself, my father.
That's a dangerous place to live, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually the very first night we opened, we got broken into. At that time, and it could be scary at times. And our whole family, we all worked in the gas station. That was just, the way we were brought up. We were all, I guess you could say like laboring kind of mentality. That's the kind of upbringing we had. So growing up, it was pumping gas, filling propane tanks. I was selling cigarettes to people when I was 10 years old at the cashier, and it was funny. I'd be IDing people, and they'd ask me if I'm old enough to sell them the cigarettes in the first place. But it was a unique upbringing, and I think it set the stage for sort of our mentality in approaching construction in the future. And in the 90s, my father was still working in construction. I was always alongside with him, working away, and I've kind of held the odd job in every single sector. You liked this. There was something you took to heart here. Yeah, and I think and it's not so much even the specific job itself, but I think just believing in my father's vision and knowing the direction that he's going. It wouldn't have even mattered if it was the gas station or if it
could have been anything.
Construction. Is just he always took that same sort of moral compass to everything that he did.
Right.
And it was more of a mentality, if anything, that you just kind of bring to any type of work that you do is, you work hard, and you don't cheat. You do the best you can, and you try to give the best possible service you can to the people that you work with. And that's the same mentality we take when we come to our construction site.
It pays off.
Yeah, it definitely pays off. It's worth it to go that extra mile for people, because my father especially, he comes from a generation where even money itself didn't hold as much value as bartering with people. and just knowing that you've done something to help somebody take a step forward.
So there are other, as we know today, most of us hopefully, money is not everything.
No,
it is. It's good to have when you have to pay your bill, and it's something that happens to be the commodity in which we trade.
Yes.
So money itself, but otherwise the values that are set so high by your father and your family makes a big difference when one gets into actually build for other people and accommodate them.
Definitely.
The standard and what you bring on board here in the way of consultants, engineering, and so your formal education now and training on the piece of paper,
yes.
It is reading. What am I reading here? I'm reading. I can't even do.
It might be a little. I can explain it.
Maybe you can explain.
My formal education is from BCIT, the British Columbia Institute of Technology. So my background is I have a diploma of technology and architecture and building engineering technology, and then I also have a Bachelor of Technology in construction management, and then I also have some other credentials too, like my real estate license and things like that. But my educational background is no doubt more from a management perspective.
We're going to take a break here. We'll be right back.
More from the White Rock Reporter coming up after we hear from our sponsors.
Enjoy adventures where eagles soar, whales play, and around the next corner is a soft pebble beach. Discovery Sea Tours, specializing in private charters and group tours. Visit discoveryseatours.ca for details.
Time now to hear some more from the White Rock Reporter. Here's Johan Sandstrom.
Okay, so you're listening to the White Rock Reporter. I'm Johan Sandstrom. It's a pleasure to be on board here. And we have been listening to Cory Saran. And you are the project leader for Royce now. Is that correct? Or who? Is there any...
I don't think we ever really think of it in terms of leader. We're very collaborative, and in terms of the way we approach big decision making on the project, it's always a collaborative decision between myself, my father, and my wife Sandy as well. She's our go-to girl for anything finance related. I don't know if I mentioned it, but my wife has a background in accounting. She's a certified general accountant, and she also has a master's degree and stuff like that too in finance. She's
right.
Sort of our guru in terms of anything finance related. So, and like I was mentioning when we talked before too, anything from interior design considerations, and everything is a collaborative approach with our lead consultants, our marketing team.
So that is very much built on, like you said, collaborative and the cooperation and the liaison in between the members of the family.
Yes.
And that is quite a lot. That points to strength, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And so on. And I can imagine that you are getting along pretty well.
Yeah, well, no, like any relationship, there's always a butting of heads, but I think our vision is the same. We all want to see what's best for the project and what's best for the community and what we're building. So, we always have that similar mindset, and it's very rarely that we disagree. We always kind of know what general direction we're headed in. If anything, it's more just, coming together and figuring out what the best decision is.
We have spoken quite a bit about Royce, and we are going to do that in another program, more detailed maybe. And that we look forward to talk to you about as well.
Sure.
With some of your people that are involved here in the project itself and the development. And just to give people an idea, how far are we in the projection of when is the date when you can foresee that people can start moving in, or when is it ready? Will that be 2014 in the fall? Or?
Yes, our goal is to get people in before Christmas 2014, And so where we're at right now is we've poured the first slab on the lower parkade, and now we're just getting ready to pour the suspended slab on the second floor. So things are moving along very well, and the sales have been really good. So we met our pre-sales conditions. So financing's in full effect, and now it's just...
You volunteered that. You are telling me here that your sale is moving along.
Yeah, things are moving along really well. We got very, very good support from the community, and it seems like our hunch was that there was a sort of space in the market for a product like this, and we thought that especially with the locals in White Rock, a lot of downsizers that are looking for a single family, a quality home, and being able to have single floor living without stairs. I think we were fortunate enough to have read the market well, and we think people are reacting to it really well. And that,
so it will obviously be children here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Homes for children.
Yes, it's definitely accommodating to people with children, but we found that our demographic...
And grandchildren.
Yeah, it would be more grandchildren.
Yeah.
Our demographic has been mainly, I guess, age 60 plus demographic, and I think I think it's reflective of what's happening in White Rock too. Is there's a lot of folks that the maintenance, having all the space at home. It's a lot of folks want to be able to be able to lock the door and be able to travel, be away for 6 months out of the year.
Golden. They're turning out to snowbirds. And,
snowbirds.
Ski birds and other birds, and
it becomes
sandpipers, by the way, too.
Yes.
The small birds.
Yeah, well, exactly, and it becomes more difficult to do that when you're in a single-family home. There's a lot more responsibility. There's security issues. There's a lot of things to consider. So I think there's definitely that change in mindset in White Rock now, is having that freedom to be able to just have your space where you come to whenever you feel like being there.
It came to my mind here that I started out by trying to get you into the idea when you disclosed how you got a hold of the property. I thought that was so. It was charming. It was quite. It was heartwarming to hear the story about Mr. Do you mind telling me a little about that? The name of the person, how that got about?
Yes, definitely. I'm sure a lot of the White Rock locals here are probably quite familiar with the story behind this project, and that in 2005 it was applied for, and in 2007, unfortunately, the previous owner decided not to move forward on the project. And it was kind of reflective of the real estate market at that time. It probably wouldn't have been able to support a project like this.
No.
And but the story, like you had mentioned, was the previous homeowner pretty much went to our architect Mark Ankenman from Ankenman Associates and said, "I want the best."
Ankenman, yeah, the architects, right?
Yes, and he said, "I want the best building in White Rock. Design it."
That's what this party said.
That's what the
you don't want to say the name of the person.
Oh, I can. His name is Stan Sheaves, and he's a lovely person, and he's been so much fun to talk with, and that's why this project is almost a double passion for us, because it's Stan's legacy build, and it's our legacy as well.
He had the architect to draw something that was out of the ordinary, that he said, no, I need another piece of property to build this on. And then this property for Royce, that we have Royce now, is simply that, wow, it became available. And it was a thing that you and your dad and father, Jack, and so on, it was done in 2-3 days or something.
Yeah, it was great timing. We had just wrapped up our Keystone Townhouse project, and we were looking to find our next project to work on. And, through a very fortunate series of events, we were able to meet up with Stan, and, he told us about this project that he was working on, and it sounded like a dream come true. We visited the property, and Stan's biggest thing was, it has to be built right, and we were fortunate enough that he trusted us that we would keep the integrity of the project as is, and we would move forward with his dream. And it's become our dream too, is to build this legacy project that it's a.
The harmony is it's almost the building, the whole development is kosher. It's nice. It has a warm feeling to it, and the best thing for people to do is obviously to contact and so on to review this opportunity. You have a show home up there on, I say, Thrift, Royce on Thrift, so they should be easy to find.
Yes.
You did something for the community as well, many things, but you have gone out marketing-wise. You have benches and you have signs, and you are also involving yourself in material things that have to do with the population. You are going to have something that involves free coffee with Laura's coffee corner at Five Corners.
Yes.
It's not too far away from where you're building.
No, it's just a few blocks down. We were talking about communities before. Supporting the local community is incredibly important to us. So, we try to find our little ways to give back and show appreciation. So, this year for Remembrance Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, Forge will be paying for everyone's coffee who comes down to Laura's coffee corner. So there'll be some specific dates that will be noted in our ads that'll be coming out in the Peace Arch News. And
right.
Feel free to write down those dates, and please come down to Laura's coffee corner and enjoy a free coffee on us, compliments of Royce.
That is interesting, because that way you are supporting Laura's and all the people that come to drink free coffee. Yes. And also you are supporting the Peace Arch News, the local paper, yeah, in which you are advertising. And I'm so pleased that you have chosen to select whiterockreporter.com to have some of your information channeled through, yes, to a wider population. Many people are local, and it certainly is a pleasure to have this opportunity. We are going to take a break here before we conclude the whole conversation, if you don't mind. We'll be right back.
More from the White Rock Reporter coming up after we hear from our sponsors.
Enjoy adventures where eagles soar, whales play, and around the next corner is a soft pebble beach. Discovery Sea Tours, specializing in private charters and group tours. Visit discoveryseatours.ca for details.
Time now to hear some more from the White Rock Reporter. Here's Johan Sandstrom.
Yes, the conclusion. Welcome again, I say, to Cory Saran, Royce, and in this case, RoyceLiving.com. Tell me a little, Cory, when you grew up here, you were obvious, you came here, so you are familiar with White Rock in South Surrey, and you obviously have learned an awful lot along the road, the journey we spoke about. And now the journey is available for people to experience in the way of living in a quite a beautiful area, yes, with the views. And those are one of the assets, and it is a very mild climate. How would you describe White Rock from your point of view? You have a family, you have a 2-year-old son, you have a 5-year-old daughter, you have a wife that is a professional, and she works in the company. How is it to work? I have not done this, so that's why I have to ask. How is it to work so close with your spouse?
To be honest with you, working with Sandy it's like working with my best friend. I've known Sandy since I was 14 years old. We're approaching the point now we would have been together longer than we would have been apart. So it's a joy to work with Sandy. She's my best friend in the whole world, and
I met with her, and she has such a nice demeanor, and it was great to have that conversation the other day with her. So I can imagine. However, and then of course you have children, and how does that how can that be coordinated?
We're fortunate enough to have a very supportive family. My mom is heavily involved in babysitting with the kids while we work. We bring the kids to the office all the time. We have an inflatable mattress in our
So
kitchen.
grandma is the
Grandma,
babysitter.
Yeah, grandma's the babysitter, And when grandma's busy, you know, we bring the kids down to the office. They got a little TV here where they watch their Disney movies when
Right.
they work. You know, it's the kids are heavily involved in our work. You know, we bring them with us to meetings. We bring them to the job site so they can see, you know, the excavation going and the slab pouring. It was a big thing for us growing up, but my father had us heavily involved in the family business, and we want the same for our own children as well.
Is it anything that you would like to bring forward to the listeners here? Because we will be coming back here with another episode of the whiterockreporter.com. And that's fine, but at this moment, what we have tried to cover is obviously a little of your background, and not so little either, because we have got into some details here that many people do not expect will be disclosed. But I think it's important for people that do buy a home that they feel comfortable with the owner and the credibility in building techniques being deployed, and obviously you are still local, and
Yes.
I can imagine you live close by somewhere. And
Yes, we live close by. I think for myself, growing up, especially, my father and I used to come down to White Rock Beach all the time to come for a swim when I was little, 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
He'd pick me up and throw me in the water, and you know, White Rock was like a dream growing up to us because we lived kind of more central Surrey. You know, we lived in the gas station. We didn't get out too much. We either going to school or working.
Right.
And I think you know, White Rock's always had that same sort of feel to it for me. As
Ambiance, feeling of warmth and everything. It is a vacation territory.
It is like like we planted our roots here. Now our office here is right on Marine Drive, and you know, every day coming to work, it does feel like you're on vacation. And you know, the community here is so tight knit, and they're so supportive, and they're so happy. Everybody here they're always happy, you know. And I think that kind of feeling you can't really get anywhere else. The feeling you get when you're in White Rock.
It is obvious, and now living here by the seaside is a privilege.
Yes.
And now you have an opportunity to avail to about 80 families,
Yes.
or 87 to be precise, by Royce, to live by the seaside and looking out at the beautiful view. And a little on a distance away from the track, we have a railroad track here, as we know, but you are just on a very comfortable distance. You are not disturbed by noise,
Yes.
and anyone that would be will know that so is the case.
Yes.
The railroad will be here because it is an important artery in our logistics of products going back and forth and along our borders and so on. And it's important for you people that are not aware of where we are. We are 45 minutes south of Vancouver and 2 hours north of Seattle by I-5 by car. So that's where we are, and we are right on the Semiahmoo Bay in the Pacific Ocean. This is a beautiful area. You couldn't ask. So now I've said that, so you have an opportunity now to tell the final things about the White Rock, because I already asked you and you didn't answer me.
Sure. Maybe just rephrase it again. Just
Yeah,
let me know.
you know, just the way you feel that what you are actually bringing forward here in the equation of living in a safe, brand new, up to date, like Royce is, and so on.
Yes.
And being able to, in how many units will really have a view from there? Do you know?
In terms of view, everybody will have a view because all of the homes are facing south. In terms of ocean view, I'd say probably...
They're all facing south.
Yeah, all the homes are facing south. There's no homes facing north on the project. It's all, everybody's facing south. So in terms of view, I'd say from the 3rd to the 5th floor of the project, everybody would be able to see water from their decks. There's quite a few units there that are just full-on ocean views, especially on the West Tower. On the East Tower, Southwest homes will be getting a gorgeous ocean view. It's a very unique opportunity to be in a building like this, where everybody sort of gets a piece of the building, like a unique piece of the building, and gets to see a unique part of the bay, like you'd mentioned, and a piece of the view proximity. And I think another important thing that I'd like to just mention before we close too is just in terms of densification and building with the environment and the official community plan in mind. And it's very important to us. Like I mentioned, we've planted our roots here in White Rock, and we're proud members of the White Rock community. We feel it's very important to build with the community in mind and build with the environment in mind. And that includes everything from your making sure your design is accommodating to preserve as much of the environment as possible.
What you mentioned to me, and I want to end with that because I think it's important. You have had a great support and smooth liaison with the city of White Rock.
Yes.
It has worked from permit points of all types of points of views here. All the approvals and everything else. It seems to. You mentioned that it has been very, very friction-free, which is very important when you're coming in with a project of this size. So I'd like to say thanks an awful lot for being on board, and I hope people can appreciate that what they have heard here is only a fraction of what we will hear in the next program on the White Rock Reporter from Royce and in this Forge Properties. Thank you, Cory Saran, for being on board. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan. It was a pleasure to be here, and thank you, White Rock.
Thanks for listening to White Rock Reporter, brought to you by Oli's Restaurant, White Rock Wellness Center, and DiscoverySeaTours.ca. To learn more about the White Rock Reporter and to get access to more great episodes, visit whiterockreporter.com. That's www.whiterockreporter.com.